All of us reach a point in time where we are depleted and need to somehow find a way to reignite the fire within. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience, where we will venture into the heart of the human spirit. We'll discuss the art of reigniting our passion and strategies to stoke our enthusiasm. And now, here are your hosts, Natalie Davis and Pamela Cass.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Well, choking on shame, Dana, when we talk about shame and just in listening to your story, it sounds like shame itself has impacted so many generations within your family, like your direct family. Unpack that for us, because I think that is a significant emotion that many people carry around. And unless they're ready to face it and really address it, they'll carry it until their final days. Talk to us a little bit about shame and the impact that it's had on the multiple generations for you.
100%. Yeah. Well, I think it's the key to everything. I think you hit the nail on the head, because I watched my mother excuse, enable, and tolerate. And even though I chose to do different, I fell into that pattern, which is a whole other psychological thing that was familiar to me. I wouldn't have known what to do with a nice guy that treated me good. I would have stirred up trouble, self-sabotaged it, felt I was unworthy, all that. But my grandma, she was married to a drunken, violent narcissist. Sound familiar? Sounds like my ex. My grandma and I have actually bonded tremendously on the similarity of our husbands. So what my mother went through growing up in that house, when her father put a gun to her head when he was drunk, or all the times that I don't even call him my grandfather, but he's passed, but all the times he brought random women home and was interacting with them sexually on the sofa, and my grandma found them. And I mean, the horrific offenses. So the trauma they had all gone through, they had no idea how to deal with that. And I mean, I've actually gone back and talked to enough people that were thinking it was about 8 generations that there were trauma that we know of, based on what we've heard of, it just seems to be down the line. And my grandma always used to say the women in our family are cursed. And I was like, well, that curse stops with me. But we do what we know, we do what we see. It's like monkey see, monkey do. And that's how kids are. And you just do the same thing, and you don't think there's anything wrong with it. Even if you see wrong with it, you don't know another way. And as I said, even if I tried to go another way, I mean, I'm remarried now, and I've known this man for a very long time, known his family 20 years. And I call him my gentle giant. He's very quiet. He's very sweet, 6'5", 220, big man, loves me very much. But my God, is he nice. And there are some days like in the beginning, especially, like I couldn't, like, it was like too good to be true. Yeah. And it would catch me off guard that I remember starting something up about a bottle of ketchup. I don't know how, only I could start up trouble with a bottle of ketchup. And I'll never forget him just leaning against his one hand on the wall and just looking at me, shaking his head with the cutest little smile. But I finally looked up at him like I'm having a tantrum, and he's like, "Are you done?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess," because he wasn't being reactive to me, and he wasn't giving in. He wasn't gonna start this back with me. So we ended up just going in and having dinner with this bottle of ketchup that I started trouble over. And it sounds silly, but these are the things that even at 40 some years old, your past comes back. Like, you would think that, oh, life is good now, blessings, happy life, peaceful life. She found a good guy, but you don't know what to do with that when all you've known in your life is chaos. And my mother would always tell me, well, he wouldn't hit you. He wouldn't treat you like that. He wouldn't talk to you like that if he didn't love you. So there was always this idea in my head, well, when somebody loves you, they're so passionate about you. And my ex would always say that too. I'm just so passionate about you. That's why I get so angry. That's why I punch holes in walls. That's why I swing crowbars at your head. That's why I have the knife, because I'm so passionate about how I feel about you. And so to undo that after 40 some
Yeah.
years, try teaching an old dog new tricks. So
Mhm.
unpacking that, Natalie, let me tell you, yeah, that second book kind of sent me back into, we've had to start talking to somebody again because there was just so much there that got brought up and still stuff I had to deal with. I had come a long way, but I still had a ways to go. And
Yeah.
so I'm just glad that I'm open about my journey and I want people to see that this is a journey because it's never going to be over. It's always going to be there. But my God, even just this year alone, I have come so far
Yeah.
from where I was and really am standing more in not just my authenticity, but releasing that shame. But it's not easy. And I don't ever want anyone to think that it's
Yeah.
just like you go talk to somebody every Thursday
Yeah.
at 2 o'clock and you're okay. No fairy godmother is waving a magic wand over you and you're going to start riding unicorns over rainbows. It just does not work
Yeah.
that way. It is awful and terrible. You actually think you're regressing because as you said,
Mhm.
like the memories that come up and the things that you unpack, and you might say something that makes somebody ask you a question that you're like, I never
Yeah.
thought of that. It never even occurred to me to think of that. And then it leads down other paths. And I always say it's like digging up a rose bush. If anyone's ever tried to do that, I have, and it never frickin' ends. Let me tell you, you think you're 6 feet under, and those thorns are still that root will not let go. You try jabbing it with a shovel, with the scissors. That's healing.
That's that, folks. That's healing.
Yes, healing sounds
There's
fabulous.
anger, it's frustration, it's crying, it's hopelessness,
Yeah.
but you get there eventually.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you
Exactly.
you finish this book and then you start another one.
Well, the other one, so I had this great idea because so gasping for air had this great response. Everyone said, well, how do you end up in this situation? And so the
Yeah.
And that
answer
was
was choking
you
on
and your
shame.
partner. That was your personal relationship,
Yep.
adult experience.
That was my
Yes.
first marriage, was gasping for
Yeah.
air. So everyone wanted to know, how do you end up in this toxic, abusive
Yes.
relationship? My answer was choking on shame. It's your
Yeah.
childhood. That was my childhood experience. It might look a little different for other people, but it always comes from childhood. You
Trauma.
always feel something deficient or shameful about you, that you feel you don't deserve any better than this
Yeah.
piece of crap, forgive me, that treats you like
Mhm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time that I was writing that, me being a Capricorn and a multitasker, always trying to be so efficient, thought, oh, well, everybody's asking about a sequel. They want to know what comes next too, because
Yeah.
they know I'm remarried and they want to hear about healing and they want to know that there's hope for love after this awful, awful thing you went through. So I was writing the sequel while the publisher had Choking on Shame, the second book, like while they
Yeah.
were doing some manuscript evaluations
Yes.
and giving me revisions, I was simultaneously scrambling to write a sequel because everybody wanted a sequel. And I'm like, my God, I'm trying to give people what they want. And,
Yeah.
we all know from marketing and everything else, like, got to ride the wave while it's still there. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was a process, trying to write two books at once and be in this mindset and then switch to
Yeah,
this
totally
mindset
different spaces.
completely.
Yeah.
But I think it's good. I think overall we have two really solid books. I'm actually totally okay with Choking on Shame not doing as well as Gasping for Air because of the fact that it's too honest and too triggering. That
Yeah.
tells me I did a good job. And,
Yes.
hopefully people that need to read it will read it, and people that are not ready, maybe they'll get there. But maybe they'll read the sequel, because I did write them all, and that was the tricky part. I wanted them each to be standalone books that
Yeah.
you never have to read more than the one you choose to read. But
Mm-hmm.
if you read one, there's tidbits in each one that refer to both of the others. So
Perfect.
it's kind of interesting that way. You get little, I call them sprinkles, like you sprinkle on a cupcake, you know.
Yeah.
You get
Yes.
little sprinkles of that one in here and that. So you might be inclined then to read another one. But I'm hoping that the sequel, it's much lighter. There's definitely still drama.
Yeah.
We still have the return of my ex because, like I always say, like cockroaches, they never seem to go away. These
That's not what I usually say. I say something different, but I shall not
well,
say it.
yeah, it probably has the A word, which is the word I refer to him as and what he is in my phone. But I hear you on that, but that's my polite version.
Yes.
Um, but he comes back a fourth narcissist, if you could believe it, my mother and stepfather, and the end of that, they're in it. And the third book I'm excited about because even though it's lighter, it has there's a lot of juicy drama, even if you just like gossipy, like, oh my God, that happened for real. Yeah, for real, it
Yeah.
happened. I don't know how my life becomes so exciting without me going anywhere. I stay home with my
Yeah.
cats and all these things happen. But I swear to God, it's amazing the superpower I have on people, the effect. But it's
Yeah.
exciting. I have it in two parts. Book 3 has part 1, which is the narcissistic apocalypse, where all for a new narcissist and the 3 from the past all hit me at once. I am divorced, engaged, selling my house, moving out of my house. My son is graduating high school and going off to college. All this happened in an 8-month period. Oh, and I remarried. And we moved in with my current husband. So it was a time. And in the midst of all this, I have 4 narcissists literally smearing my name, trying to sabotage my relationship, trying to stop my wedding. I mean, it was something. And this is all, I didn't even include everything that happened, but it's very exciting. And you think you get to the wedding at the end of part 1, we got married, love won, I got the guy, everything's good, she's gonna live a nice life. And then there's a part 2. Because it doesn't ever end.
Oh my gosh. I'm like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, wait, but what else?
I feel
know,
like
right?
these books are going to be movies.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I
Oh.
don't think there's another book, but I'd love to see it as a screenplay.
I would
The
love
entire
to
thing.
see.
Keep that momentum
Yes.
going. I've had a couple people mention Netflix. I do have
I
somebody
feel,
that
yes.
has connections that has suggested it to Mark Wahlberg's production company.
Oh, I think
Who
it'd be great.
knows? I'm open. It's certainly not the most horrific, marriage or child abuse or whatever, but I mean, even when I've read I'm at the point where I read parts of my books and I laugh because it's just so ridiculous to me that this has been my life and that I'm still standing and that I
Yeah.
can laugh about it. But yeah, part 2. So Natalie, is Revelations. That's what we call it. We're going biblical with this one. It's where I start kind of shifting my mindset. And this is the part that I'm hoping people will kind of respond to and maybe think about starting their healing journey. But it's funny, I'm going to give one thing away. At the very end of book 3, the very last part comes full circle, comes back to my mother. And that is the key to everything. My relationship with my mother, but I can't say what happens, but it's a pretty profound moment. I know.
It comes out. When does it come out? Tell the listeners.
February of 2025.
Okay.
And I have changed the name. Hopefully I won't change it again because they're designing the cover right now, but we're calling it Rising from the Ashes, Breaking the Cycle of Narcissistic Abuse.
I love it. I love it. All right. Who will play you in the next one?
Yes.
I don't know. Somebody asked me that and I'm like, I thought Natalie Portman,
Ooh,
maybe. I know, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that would be good.
I can see that.
That gave me chills. I think that would be awesome.
Oh my gosh, I can
I
totally
still
see that.
haven't decided who should play my ex, though. I don't know. It's hard.
That's a hard one. That
That's
is a hard one. Yeah. A hard one. Wow.
I bet there's an actor that's up for the challenge, right? Because it's all about getting into that space and it's the challenge of the role.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm so excited for this to become a screenplay. This is great. Okay.
Well, I wish I wrote screenplays, but if there's anyone listening that has these connections, yes, we're open to talks.
Yes.
Oh my
Beautiful.
gosh.
Beautiful.
Uh,
Dana, tell us, choking on shame.
Yes.
What is the one key moment, memory, item in just either writing it, seeing it published and in print, or even picking it back up and reading, pieces of the book? What is one thing that really stands out to you for that book?
I don't know if I could say one thing. Maybe it's two things. One is I have the most amazing cover designer. He's
Mm,
doing the third book as well. I love what he did with Gasping for Air. It was like profound to me what he did
mhm.
with that. Choking on Shame, he asked me for a picture of me as a little girl. And I was like, what are you getting at? He's like, don't ask. Just send me some pictures. So I
Yeah.
didn't know what he was looking for. I'm thinking a sad little girl. So I sent him a sad picture. I sent him some happy ones. But when he showed me the cover, I think it just really shook me because he chose a very happy moment. I was actually twirling around and the camera caught me just as I was coming back to the front and my
Mm,
hair was flying and I had this big smile. I'm one of those people that if I'm really happy, like you can tell in the twinkle in my eyes and my
yeah.
I just have the big smile as opposed to my fake, like, yes, I'm happy, like I'm not really. Yeah, we all have that fake one.
Yep.
Yes.
But it was like, and then he did like a shattered mirror on the picture of me. And I think that's when it really kind of like,
Wow.
I didn't like the idea of my picture being on the cover, but when I saw this happy little girl, I almost looked at her like, even though it was me, like, who is that? Like, who was I
Yeah.
or who could I have been?
Mm.
What things could have been
Yeah.
so different,
Yes.
but that shattered glass on that image just, I mean, I'm getting chills now thinking of it. And
Hmm.
I just thought, oh my, I mean, that's exactly what happened to me. Somebody just took my innocence and just carelessly
Sure.
destroyed it.
Yeah.
And I think that that just shook me. I mean, like I said,
Hmm.
even though I wrote the book and even though I lived it, and even seeing that visual was really hard. But the other part of it was, and I don't like to give away any ending of anything, but the last part of the book, if anyone ever gets it, don't go straight to the back now, but the very last chapter, the ending of the book, I will say a little tidbit. I reintroduce a book that actually, yes, I still have right here with my books. My mother had given me this book. You might be, I don't know if you could see it. Oh, no, you
Oh,
can't see it. It's not coming up here. Oh, it's coming up a little.
kind of.
To my daughter with love.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of ironic. It's a
Hmm.
book of poetry. She gave this to me, gosh, I was maybe in third or fourth grade. And I always kept it on the hutch of my dresser. And so at the very end of the book, I'm in college. I didn't graduate on time because I was going to school full time, working full time, and I had a part-time job because I was trying to make it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave me this book back as a present and with the flippant comment, well, I was going to give this to you as a graduation gift from college, but since you didn't graduate, but she had written inside the front cover, and I'm looking at it now. I mean, she just wrote all this advice for life. And I won't read the whole thing, but I include this in the book. This was in 1997. Dear Dana, I kept this book for a long time, believing I would come up with profound advice for living that would make a difference in your life. I didn't. And she says, I still have ideas, but what's hard about this for me is there's just so much. It's things like get regular oil changes, shower every day. I mean,
Mm.
she was really reaching. It just shows the detachment she had from being my mother. But the thing
Yeah.
that caught me, and I probably shouldn't, but all the way in the very bottom corner, and this is how I end the book. She says, it's okay to be a hypocrite. And I say at the end of the book, it's not okay to be a hypocrite, but it needed to be okay for her.
Yeah.
And I think when I opened this book so that I could include that letter and those pieces of advice, and I saw that again after all these years, it's okay to be a hypocrite.
Mhm.
That was so telling about her life
Exactly.
and how she let it. And that's when I realized that it was her unhealed trauma that I had been carrying
Absolutely.
as a burden in my heart.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ouch.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, deep stuff.
Absolutely. So shall I pose the same question then for book 3, Rising from the Ashes?
No, I'm excited about that one. Like I said, it's much
Yeah.
lighter. There's gossipy, awful, it just, but it's almost comical. But you can tell the evolution of my mindset in this book
Yeah.
because this brings you to current date, and you can see how far I've come in overcoming my past with my mother and stepfather, dealing with my ex. The book 3 is Dana coming out like she's not giving a crap anymore. Like Dana is standing firm in who she is and what she believes in and what's right, more importantly. And we're not going back to that stuff.
Yeah.
This is a new Dana. This is the the title. It was a whole different title, but my one friend kept saying, you're like a phoenix rising from the ashes. You're like a phoenix. And I'm like, no, honey, I'm like a nuclear bomb. Like this stuff is done. But I
This
love
is the
it.
puff of smoke that you're seeing. It's gonna all clear. Yes.
I am like, yes, I am coming out no holds barred with this one, but it's about the healing. It's about inspiring other people to take charge, take control, and say, no, that is not who I am. No matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone does, I get to decide my life. I get my power back. And that's what I'm doing in this book. So it's a very exciting thing. And I'm very excited for it because it's not as psychologically intense. Like Gasping for Air kind of had you on your seat, and everybody says it's a page turner, and everybody says they're rooting for me, and I get out. But Choking on Shame, it's like people are just having a real tough time just even conceiving that somebody could treat their child like that. But this one's going to be like this is the one that people are going to be like, yeah, 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 get them, get them.
Yeah.
But I do it nicely. I'm a nice girl.
Yeah.
I don't get too snarky.
Not that you had to be, but okay.
Yeah. Well,
I can be.
maybe this last book, when people read it, it will want them to read the first book so that they can see where you've come from. Because I think, to me, that's a journey of hope. They can see, this is what you had as a child, but look where you're at now. And so maybe people just reading that last book will inspire them to say, wait, where was she at the very beginning? And maybe they'll go back.
Well, and that's the very key thing, because from through all 3, what you get to in the final book, the last chapter of book 3, where we come full circle back to my mother, comes back to, I was always made to feel that I didn't belong, that I didn't even belong here, that I wasn't supposed to exist. I was told that I was never supposed to be born. And I struggled to belong because I was bullied at school as a little girl. I was the little Hispanic girl with the curly hair who rolled her R's when all the other kids were Jewish, and they just didn't know what to do with me. And my mother was always trying to straighten my hair and tell me how to talk and put me in clothes that they wore instead of what I wanted to wear. I couldn't wear my Menudo shirt. I had to wear Gap clothes with the little, it was always about not being accepted for who I was and trying to fit in somewhere, but I could never quite find where I fit. And when you don't even fit with your own mother and your own family, ouch. Like that's who you should fit into, if nobody else. So I think it appeals, like I get a lot of people that identify, differently than their birth gender, that identify kind of with that idea of what I went through. People that are from different cultures that may not fit in with, the communities they're being raised in. So it kind of appeals to a lot of people, but it's interesting, how you get to the point where you realize, no, I do belong here. And, I'm a spiritual person, and it took my priest telling me, you're not your mother's child, you're a child of God. And that's all you need to know. And that's what you need to go with. Follow your path, follow your heart, and that's what I'm doing. And if I can help somebody with the little wisdom I have to offer and the things I've learned, if they could, come to this earlier in their life and heal from it sooner, then that's all I'm trying to do.
Beautiful.
Love that. Love that.
Yay.
Dana, do you have any final words of advice for our listeners as we wrap up our episode today?
I always tell people my only advice that I like to give, it's very general, but I tell people to trust their gut, because we go through life doubting, questioning, saying maybe, or I can't, or should I, and all that. Even in relationships, and this primarily comes back to my first marriage, we try to force relationships that just don't organically work. Yet we all know what it's like to meet somebody and just click. Like, you're like, oh my God, you're like my best friend. You're my twin, sister from another mister, whatever it is. And why we don't do that with romantic relationships, with all of our friends. Like, it's okay for us to be different, and it's okay for us not all to agree or get along or whatever, but be respectful and be kind. I think, especially with this last election, let's just all be respectful and be kind, because we're going to do more together than we are divided. And maybe I want everyone to sing Kumbaya and the world to be wonderful again, but it starts with us.
Absolutely.
If we love and we're kind and we're respectful and we put that out in the world, but it comes back to trusting our gut, always doing what's we know right from wrong, do what's good, do the next right thing, and then that'll have a domino effect, hopefully, on the people that you interact with.
Yeah. Well, this has been so much fun to have you on again.
Thank
it was
you.
like getting together with an old friend.
Exactly.
I am so excited to watch this on Netflix.
Oh, I'm so excited. I hope it comes. I hope that comes
It will.
true.
We are speaking it into existence, because
we're going to give that lots of energy.
Yeah,
We're putting it out there.
That don't read, but they need to hear your story. And if it's
everyone learns
Mark Wahlberg's out there
differently.
listening, if people would watch it, they would get something from it.
Or Natalie Portman, please.
Or Natalie Portman, if you're out there listening.
Give us a call.
Podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Dana's contact information's in the show notes, Natalie. Give her a call.
Oh my gosh.
And we'll do a little cameo. We'll do cameo appearances in the movie or something.
Exactly.
That would be amazing. That could be at the end, like where we
Yes.
know how the rest of my life is. She's podcasting now. And
Yes.
this is the podcast she's on. I would love that.
You all heard it here first, so just know that this is where we create it, and we're going to support it and push it through.
Absolutely. I love this.
Absolutely.
This is so great. Dana, thank you for coming back and sharing the rest of your story. And when we wrapped up on the first appearance of your first appearance on the show, you kind of alluded to the fact that this was going to go a little bit deeper and it may ruffle a couple of feathers. And there's no doubt there, but I think the message that you're delivering to the readers, to our listeners, is one that's so important, especially for the individuals that have found themselves in these situations. And I think it's also empowering to the individuals that may be the giver on that side, right? So the people that don't even realize the impact that they've had with the things that they've said, the treatment that they've had on the people in their lives. So thank you for pouring your all into these 3 books. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, it's my pleasure. And thank you guys so much for having me back on. You guys are so much fun. Absolutely love you. And your cat has been so well behaved back there, just sleeping.
I know. Well, this is her life.
This is her life. Her cameo appearance on every podcast. Well, we will make sure to put all of Dana's contact information in the show notes. We'll also link the books in the show notes so that you all can grab a copy of the book as well. And if you are interested in learning more about what's happening in the world of Reignite Resilience, head on over to reigniteresilience.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, we'll see you all soon.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today on the Reignite Resilience podcast. We hope you had some aha moments and learned a few new real-life ideas to fuel the flames of passion. Please subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like or download your favorite episodes, and of course, share with your friends and family. We look forward to seeing you again next time on Reignite Resilience.